Dr.MGR Educational and Research Institute, Madrawal, Chennai. Our vision is to provide a viable and credible learning experience for aspiring student community and inquisitive researchers who seek to expand the current body of knowledge pertaining to English language and literature across diverse fields of study. To enable the students to explore English language and literature, to be proficient in the use of the language in communication, and build knowledge for personal and societal development.
Hi, I'm Sounda, 2017 passed out. It's an immense pleasure for me to share my feelings and experience for the MGR University, especially for BA English department. I enjoyed all the 3 years where I studied in MGR in the English department. Literature almost changed my life, gave me creativity, it taught me how to think on my own, how to dream especially. And continuing in the same college, same university as a law student. It is the happiest moment in my life. And those who are going to choose a BA English literature are blessed. Thank you.
My name is Anil Verma.
My name is Darshni.
Hello everyone, this is Shruti.
I chose the English literature because this is the only way that you can explore about the society you live in, explore about yourself, learn more about the cultures, the literatures of the different countries.
So I'm working as a content writer in a legal firm now, and one of the main reasons of where I am in my life, I'm able to work as a content creator. I'm able to have such knowledge because of the education I was provided in college.
They have a spectrum of opportunities available, starting from the webinars to seminars to various intercollegiate and various intracollegiate events. I get to experience all that, and it has been an incredible journey so far, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. Thank you.
Warm and pleasant greetings, everyone. How excited is this afternoon? Indeed, very wonderful. The ambience around us weaves a beautiful tale, mesmerizing to the ears and truly unforgettable. Dear viewers, you will yourself discover as the colors of this event embellish us all together. Well, I'm D. Deepa, Assistant Professor, Department of English, and I shall be your host for the day. We all have gathered here to witness a national level webinar organized by the Department of English, Faculty of Humanities and Science of Dr.MGR Educational and Research Institute on the topic Language, Literature and Translation by one of the most creative, talented and knowledgeable resource person, Dr. Kokila Kalekar, Senior Assistant Professor, Department of Translation Studies, the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad. The talk today will explore the role of translation in the development of language and literature, along with the role it plays for the dissemination of knowledge and values. Along with the eminent resource person of today in the virtual studio, we also have with us our ever energetic additional registrar E&S, Dr. D.B. Jabraj, and the lovely members of the Department of English as assistant professors, Ms. S. Bhuvaneshwari, Ms. K. Gayatri, and Ms. R. Akshaya, who is also the technical host of today's program. Dear participants, I'm elated that you all have registered in large numbers to attend this program. Your keenness and lively participation motivates us to organize many useful programs as this. Before we head to the program, I would like to inform you about the feedback link. The link will be posted under a bright yellow title at the end of this session. You're all requested to click, fill, and submit before 6 p.m. Indian time today to instantly receive your certificates in the registered emails. The form will be deactivated after 6 p.m. Please make it a point to post questions related to the topic in the chat box at the end of the session. The resource person with her wide knowledge and experience will only be very happy to clear all your doubts. Heading to the program now, I warmly invite Dr. M. Chandrasena Rajeshwaran, head of the department, to welcome the gathering. To you now, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone present here. First, thanks to our Deepa, being the host for this event. Actually, first of all, let me thank God Almighty for giving us this wonderful opportunity to interact as an academic community. It's an honor and privilege to welcome our chief patron and founder chairman, Dr. A.C. Shanmugam, and our guiding patron and president, ACS Arun Kumar, to this national level webinar on language, literature, and translation. But for their support and guidance, the department could not have achieved this significant moment of such an eminent webinar. Okay, I welcome our most respected Vice Chancellor, Dr. S. Lakshmi, our Registrar, Dr. C.B. Palnivelu, and additional Registrar, H&S, Dr. Malini Pandey, to the national level webinar. I also extend my warm welcome to our additional registrar, Dr. D.B. Jabaraj, for his valuable support and guidance in organizing such meaningful webinars which are here to disseminate knowledge not only to our university faculty and students, but also to students and faculty all over the country. And to talk about the significance of this valuable webinar is really very important at this occasion. What I would like to say is how translation is important in adding knowledge to us. As per the title, Language, Literature and Translation, we can understand the interrelationship among all the three. How language would develop with the knowledge, with the valuable information from other languages, as the literature from other languages get translated into one's own language. and also about the various moral and ethical values people across the world follow because of their experience and shared knowledge will also be communicated to other people across the world. So that is why we think this webinar is really very important. And I really thank everybody who has come to attend this national level webinar to gather information about the value of translation in language and literature. Thank you everybody for being here.
Thank you, ma'am, for your earnest welcome to the gathering. Now, I cordially invite our dynamic additional registrar, E&S, Dr. D.B. Javraj, to deliver the felicitation address. To you now, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to welcome the academics who have been listening to this e-workshop on publishing with the citation index. Dr.MGR University looks for collaboration with the academic community to disseminate knowledge to teachers and students. You may consider this as an open invitation to like-minded professional bodies and institutes across the world. We are in Dr.MGR Educational Research Institute, and I believe in identifying talents and the potentials of academics across the world and offering opportunities for development. Faculty of Humanities and Science, the Department of English organizes a national level webinar on language, literature, and translation. The objective of the talk is to explore the role of translation in the development of language and literature, along with the role it plays for the dissemination of knowledge and values. The resource person is an able academician and as part of the knowledge economy builders of our nation. She is here to disseminate the information about the interrelationship of language, literature, and translation. Without the translation of original literatures in the regional languages of the world, many literatures may not be known to the world around. Take, for instance, our Holy Bible. Without its translation in Tamil, we might not have learned many moral and ethical values for a peaceful life. I heartily welcome Professor Dr. Kokila Kalekar for his wonderful service to knowledge community. I request the participant to benefit from this webinar, which will be available in YouTube at all times. I really congratulate all the department senior professors, that is the deans, and other faculty members, including Dr. Pushkala Madam, Dr. Mary Madam, Dean of the departments, and Dr. Sandrashana Madam, Head of the department, and other faculty members and organizing members, Dr. Harshini Rajkumar, Karpavadivu, Dr. Karpavadi, and Professor Julie Elizabeth, and Akshaya, and Priyadarshini, and Deepa, and other faculty members of this department. I wish for many such programs for the benefit of the students and the faculty in the days to come. Thank you, one and all. Have a nice day. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for an elegant and motivating address. It's now time to introduce our eminent resource person, Dr. Kokila Kalekar, and we have Ms. S. Bhuvaneshwari, Assistant Professor, Department of English, who will take up this lovely task of introducing her to us. To you now, ma'am.
Thank you, Deepa. I feel immense pleasure to introduce our chief guest, Dr. K. Kokila. Dr. K. Kokila, Assistant Professor, Department of Translation Studies, working from 2010 in School of Interdisciplinary Studies, the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad. Previously, she worked as a lecturer about 16 years in Hindi Pratyapak in Central Hindi Training Institute, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. Her specialization extends in audio-visual translation, translation studies in India, Indian literature in translation, and comparative contrastive historical linguistics. She completed her PhD on postmodernism and Hindi poetry in Osmania University, Andhra Pradesh, both Hindi and English in 2011. Dr. K. Kokila quenched her educational thirst by completed her PG diploma in translation and functional Hindi in 1992 in Osmania University, Andhra Pradesh. Pre-PhD exam in 2005 in Osmania University, Andhra Pradesh. Diploma in Sanskrit in 2007 in Vivekananda Institute of Languages, Ramakrishna Math, Hyderabad. And she also completed her PG diploma in computer applications in Indian languages in 2008 in Doctorate of Distance Education, University of Hyderabad. She also grabbed Certificate of Proficiency in Urdu in 2014 in Doctorate of Distance Education, University of Hyderabad. Certificate of Proficiency in Persian in 2015 in the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad. And Diploma in Persia in 2016 in the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad. Professionally, she qualified the national eligibility test for lecturership held in November 1994, accredited by UGC, organized by Andhra Pradesh College Service Commission. She has 25 years of teaching experience in the educational field. Dr. Kokila taught many UG, PG, and PhD scholars with the deep and sensational topics like introducing translation, nature, scope, and significance, modern Indian language for communication, introducing translation and cultural studies, translation and electronic media 1 and 2, which dealing with the forms of audiovisual translations like dubbing, subtitling, voiceover, remakes, etc. She offered many reading courses for PhD scholars like English translations of Telugu Dalit text historical study, translations of Holy Quran and historical study, history of film remakes from Telugu to Hindi and vice versa. She enriched herself by attending orientation and refresher courses like Orientation Program Academic Staff College OU University, a refresher course in Indian Literature Multidisciplinary from Academic Staff College, Osmania University. She published 4 books, 8 chapters in books, 10 national and international papers presented in seminars, conferences, and lectured nearly more than 12 lectures in orientation courses, training programs, etc. She invited as a lecturer in national and international level also. Her books named Sri Sai Vagishwari, Hyderabad, Sri Guru Govind Singh Ji Maharaj Ki Sanskrit Jivani, and Viveka Dipni Vedanta Bharati, Mysuru 2019. And her book chapters attracted the topic Modern Indian Language, Hindi Basic Syllabus for BA, BSc, BCom, second year semester, which extended many units, and her lecturership extended like translation as practiced and theorized by Bachchan, and her Vivekananda therapy, need of the hour, are few examples. And she worked as a chairperson in many national and international level programs. She chaired a session in international level as Indian literature as world literature, past, present, future, the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, translation across borders, journals and graphics, second annual international conference of Kazure Collective Society in collaboration with Department of English, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad. She chaired a session in national level in translation and nation, National Translation Mission, Mysuru, Karnataka. She is a member of national level editorial board of journals on textbook preparation committee of Aadhar Vidyakram Sanaksta foundation course, that is graduate level. Okay, she is the member of academic as professional associations in international level in Kazuri Collective Society and national level in Rajasthan Association for Studies in English. She also organized many events like national level seminar on translating oral folk texts from Indian languages in English and organizing International Translations Day celebrations every year, and also coordinate the weekly seminars in the department. And she is a guide, and under her, one PG, one MPhil, two PhD scholars are there, and many beautiful topics like socio-cultural aspects of translations and Srimad Bhagavad Gita into Bangala, comparative analysis of three translations of the Holy Quran by translators from different backgrounds, and 20th century Bengali fiction in translation. She also evaluated the web versions of the Telugu translations of audiovisual course material for Prabodh, Praveen, Pragya courses prepared by CDAC Pune. On behalf of our university, I wholeheartedly wish you to continue and contribute your educational activities for a long time, ma'am. I welcome you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. What a stunning and impressive profile. Ma'am, our gratitude and abundance to you for accepting our invitation instantly and gracing the program today as our resource person. We are absolutely certain that all the participants connected here benefit largely from your resourceful, creative, and highly intellectual topic. I now warmly invite you to the studio to enlighten the audience on language, literature, and translation. To you now, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Uh, this is a very uh, special occasion for me to be there for the MGR University. I'm very happy to see that a university which has been established in the name of a great, perhaps an actor as well as a politician and a thinker like MGR. Perhaps I was in my 10th class when MGR had become the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. So it was a time when the cine actors were ruling, perhaps, or like we had N.T. Ramarao at the same time. He was a contemporary of MGR, and two great personalities of the screen were heading the states. So, and they were really successful even in in the day-to-day administration and for the betterment of the society of the state people of the state. So today, I mean, I am thankful to the organizers, and especially Dr. Hashini and other dignitaries and uh, registrar, VC, and all who have invited me to this special occasion of the webinar. Um, and because I came to know that the people who would be attending would be related to language, literature, and yeah, language, and mostly language and literature. But I come from a background, yeah, dealing with language and literature, and also as I'm appointed in translation studies department, and also as a practitioner of translation over a period of time. I we thought that this topic, language, literature, and translation, would be very um, befitting, and perhaps it would be of help for the students as well as, I mean, all the participants. I hope that we would be able to discuss certain things which are maybe which would be helpful for uh, all those who are interested in the field, right? So coming to my topic, I think language, literature, Dr. Hashini. Yes, yes, please. I'm thankful. Yes. So language, literature, and actually, I thought yes, as we have given here, we could go for language first. But yeah, I would just discuss. I mean, I'm sorry I didn't have much time because my sister and all were hospitalized, and even I got fever since yesterday, so I couldn't present a very good PPT. But whatever I could here, I have presented over here. So can I make a presentation from this platform, or Harshini, or whoever is taking care of? Maybe I can send a revised PPT.
Ma'am, can you hear me, ma'am? I will share your PPT, ma'am.
Yeah, shall I? Shall I share?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Acha, you will share my PPT, right?
Yes, I will share, ma'am. I will share.
Yeah.
Or you want
Okay,
to share,
okay.
ma'am? Or you want to share?
No, actually, I just updated one or two slides I added. So
Okay,
shall I
ma'am.
say resend?
Okay, okay,
Shall
ma'am.
I
You can share,
resend?
ma'am. There is a share option below. You can share it.
Okay, I'll share it.
Okay.
Shall I share?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can.
Where is that share option? Yeah, share option is there.
And
I
share
mean,
screen.
for one or two screens, I will share, and then
Okay.
after that, maybe you can continue. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Uh,
Okay.
yes. Yes. I hope this works. Uh, yes. So, as you all are
Ma'am, your
aware of
screen
the
is not.
language.
Ma'am, your screen is not visible, ma'am.
Yes, it is not visible. I am just sharing it. Wait, I have
You have
not
to
yet
click that
shared.
dialog box.
Yeah. I am sharing it. One second. I am sharing it. It's not visible, na? Right. Let me make it. Yeah, it's not getting shared. This is open. Yes. Wait. It's not getting exact. Yes. Now I think it's getting.
Yes,
Uh,
now your screen is shared, ma'am.
is it shared now? Is it visible? Yeah. Can
Yes,
you
ma'am.
see
It's
language
visible,
there?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You
Yeah,
can make it
language.
in a full
This
slide.
particular slide. Yes. This particular language. Yes. So before going to this, we would say, like, as generally speaking, we understand language as a means of communication and expression, right? But it is also an expression of social beliefs and traditions. And according to Edward Sapir, language is a guide to social reality. Okay, so social reality, when you say social reality, what do we mean by that? Uh, am I visible now? Yes. So social reality would mean anything which is there in the society, right? Anything which is there in the society. And when we say anything which is there in the society, whatever, when we say society, society means the people, right? The people who are there in the society, or whatever they are speaking, in whatever way they are expressing. They could be expressing their ideas, uh, or their emotions, or uh, whatever. It could be day to day belief, day to day uh, communication, or it could be communication in the form of an art. And when we say in the form of an art, the communication could be in the form of a painting, or a dance, or a music, audio. So this includes everything. When we say language is a form of communication, it includes everything. So, and when we talk about Edward Sapir, when he says it's a guide to social reality, that means whatever is there in the society. Like, for example, the relationships. I'm talking about the relations. I mean, let us begin with the family, right? When in the family we have, what kind of families we have? We have joint families. We have joint families. We have nuclear families, right? So each and every word, as you all know, right? Each and every word which we can think of, or maybe or imagine, or sometimes we so which could be real or which may not be real as well. Like sometimes we we use words or create words for things which we don't know, which are whether they are real or not. They could be imaginative, like words like heaven or hell. Who has seen the heaven or hell? We have, as far as we are living, we might not have. We can't see that. That's not possible. So but the thing is, we believe in such certain things like that. So whatever, as we see that whatever we think, whatever are our perceptions, so that includes in the society, and also we see that language is an expression of culture as well, right? So whenever people are speaking in a kind of a very good sophisticated language, then we say that, oh, we identify the people by the way they speak, right? Sometimes if they are using a language which is not acceptable to the society or to others, then a kind of a slang language, then we say, oh, what kind of a culture this person is from. So language is also related to culture, of course. When we say culture, culture is a very broad phenomena which includes language itself, right? So as we all know, culture includes language, literature, it includes food habits, it includes belief systems, everything which is related to human life perhaps includes culture. So coming to another definition of language is by Lotman, where he says that no language can exist unless it is steeped in the context of culture, and no culture can exist which does not have at its center the structure of natural languages. When it is so here, Lotman is trying to show the relationship between language and culture. So we can say that culture cannot exist without language, and language cannot exist without culture. Oh, this one is. I hope this is. Oh, I'm sorry. This is visible now. Yes. Yes,
Yes,
please.
ma'am, it's visible, ma'am.
Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Is it visible, Gayatri?
Ma'am, ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am,
Yeah,
it's visible.
Gayatri. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah. So we can see that if we look at these two definitions of language, one is social reality, and then coming to Lotman, when he says that no language can, language exists in culture, in the context of culture, and no culture can exist without language. So clubbing these two things, Susan Bassnett, who is considered to be one of the pioneers of translation studies and pioneer scholars, who has written on translation studies, her book written title translation studies itself is considered as the basic textbook of translation studies, where she says she combines these two and concepts, and she says that language is like the heart, okay, is like the heart within the body of the culture. She's just trying to relate between the language and the heart, where language is the heart within the body of the culture, and she's trying to relate a translator, as she says that translator is like a surgeon operating on the heart. So just as a surgeon, now we need to understand this relationship between, now giving by looking at this example, you can see that language is the heart and the whole body is the culture. So and if the translator is the surgeon who is operating on the heart, that means actually literally speaking, translator is like a he's a person who is working on, going by this definition or analogy, a translator is basically working on language, right? But he is working on the language which is located in the culture, in the body of the culture. So when he is operating on the heart, he cannot neglect the body. So just as a surgeon who is operating on a heart, he cannot neglect the body. Similarly, a translator who is working on language cannot neglect the culture. So he has to look at the uh, yes. So he has to take care of the he has to look at the uh, he has to take care of the uh, culture and he should be well versed with the culture, and without having a good knowledge of the culture, he or she, I'm sorry, he or she, translator, cannot translate. Okay, so that is what I just wanted to share about the language and the relationship between language, culture, and literature. Yeah, and translation. And perhaps we can go for or the types of translations and all definitions of translation. But before going to that, I would like to go for the literature, because since most of you are from the literature background, yes, we can go for the literature. Coming to the literature part of it, yeah. So literature as a body of is considered, defined mostly as a body of written works, and we see that the term literature itself has been traditionally applied to those imaginative works. Generally imaginative. Why imaginative? Like the writer, the poet, or the author. He imagines certain things, and then yeah, imaginative works of poetry and prose distinguished by the intentions of their authors and perceived um, excellent, aesthetic excellence and execution. And literature may be classified according to a variety of systems, including language. We can classify literature according to language or origin of the where it is. The nation or the historical period. Say we say that ancient literature, medieval or modern, or according to genre, whether it is poetry, prose, or within prose and poetry, you have various forms of prose, and within prose, poetry, and within prose, you have various forms, drama and novel, short stories, like that. And according to subject matter as well, perhaps what yeah, please, next slide, please. Next slide. Can we go to the next slide? Yes. Yeah, here I have talked about the earlier one, the earlier. Acha, this is the one. Okay, right. So yes, so the literature can be categorized based on geographical regions, as you all know, Asian literature, African, Australian, American, like that, or you can even go by languages, say Sanskrit, Malayalam, as we have in Indian context, or say English, French, or Arabic, like that, or by nation, or based on subject, romantic literature, biblical, or postmodern, like that. Yes, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes, so definition of the word literature, they tend to be circular, but going by the 11th edition of Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, it considers literature to be the writings having excellence of form or expression. See, first of all, language itself is considered as a form of expression or communication, but here we are seeing that it should be the communication or the expression should be, uh, uh, excellent, right? And it should be the highest form of expression, perhaps the highest form of expression or communication, and expressing ideas of permanent and universal interest. This is another important point where they are saying that the ideas, or perhaps I would say the values, as we say today also, we say, we quote Shakespeare, we say the world is like a stage. So that's what they are, trying to say over here, where ideas of permanent or universal interest, where the idea is like when we say the world is like a whole world is like a stage, and we are all the human beings are like actors. So they are applicable to all the times or all the places or of the world. So such ideas are considered as literature according to the dictionary. And then coming to Walter Pater, who in 19th century referred to literature as the matter of imaginative or artistic literature, or as a transcript, not of mere fact, but of fact in its infinitely varied forms. So another point we are trying to understand over here is literature is not simply imaginative. See, if it is imaginative, it is a kind of a mixture of imagination and fact, perhaps, or we can say the fact based on imagination. So if we, I mean, you all must be knowing, you all must have read about many literary criticism where, okay, we say that, okay, whatever we see, whatever a poem sees or an author or a dramatist sees in the society, he puts all those things in the in a in an imaginative. What is imaginative is mostly perhaps the names of the characters and all, and or some situations, some which the to create um, some interest, the author or the poet might add some imaginative elements in it, but mostly the I would say that somewhere or the other, some experience, personal experience or others experience or some fact is definitely there in, or if it is completely fictional, it could be fictional or as well, right? uh, so those are the kinds of literatures which are available. Yes, next, please. Yeah, but such, yeah, another most important, I mean, problem with this kind of a thing is like definitions are like such definitions assume that the reader already knows what literature is, and indeed its central meaning and what is there, and it is clear enough. But I mean, coming to the I mean, literal meaning of literature, the word literature, it is coming from the word Latin word literature, where a letter of which means a letter of alphabet, and literature. So it is, I mean, it is understood as mankind's entire body of writing. Then it is a body of writing belonging to, after that only it is a body of writing belonging to a given language or people or individual pieces of writing. Yes, next please. Next please, next slide please. Yeah. So but another problem with saying that literature is something which is written, that itself creates some problem, that itself is misleading, because one may also think of oral literature, as we all know, right? So we all know, but rather, I mean, it is a known fact that uh, uh, even before the literature was written down, you take any literature, you take any text, whether it is a religious text or whether it is a literary text, whether it is epics or whether it is, I mean, supposing you take Bible, right? Or you say Vedic literature. Okay, before they were written down, even before, much before they were, I mean, the Bible was written down or the Vedic literature or any other literature was written down, it was, or say Buddhist literature, it was it was the it was orally spread, it was the oral tradition. Initially it was oral, all the literatures were oral initially. It was only I mean, after over a period of time, after the scripts were developed, perhaps as students of language and literature, we all know that it was a language which was developed first, and then only later on the system of writing, the scripts and all were developed. So it, I mean, it took a lot of time. So oral traditions or oral literatures are much older. So you can't say that oral literature is not literature. That also is a literature. So we can't simply say that only whatever is written is literature. Okay. So then coming to the art of literature, yeah, that's rightly we can say that it cannot be, I mean, we can't restrict. Okay. Then the scope of literature, right? Literature is in the form of human expression, but not everything expressed. Another point, not everything expressed in words, even when organized or written down, is counted as literature, right? So, but there are some people, right? I mean, how do we define literature? So that is the question. So, but there are some people who say that yes. So we can say that perhaps literature, I mean, there is a distinction between that literary text and non-literary text, like that perhaps. So, or technical text like that. Some writings, not everything. Yeah, the point is not everything written down in a organized way or well thought way is counted as literature. So those writings which are informative or technical or journalistic or scholarly writing, or would be excluded. Yes, generally are excluded by the term literature, although they might have literary qualities. Certain forms of writing are universally regarded, yes, as we all know. So literature is considered as an art, right? So that is it. So art form. But when we say, yes, please, next, is there any other? Yes. So the purest, or at least the most intense literary form, as we all know, is the lyric poem, and after that it comes like elegiac, epic, dramatic, narrative, or expository works. And most theories of literary criticism, they are based themselves on the analysis of poetry, because the aesthetic problems of literature and presented in their simplest form, or they are all like, because that is the highest form of poetry, is the highest form of literature. That's the reason why the literary criticism is, yeah, that's even know, we all know that the greatest of the critics, Aristotle, he, or say, even he has also written poetics, but as we all know, that it is a literary criticism. I mean, it's a work of criticism. And many novels and greatest novels and are literature, but there are also like thousands that are not considered so. The novels, like, or maybe some texts which are written like Abdul Kalam's works, like Wings of Fire, or some great thinkers, so perhaps they are not, although they are, I mean, they are read mostly, but they are not considered as literature, perhaps. And even uh, so we categorize, I mean, these are the problems of categories, right? How to categorize, or literature, or what includes literature. And it is said that even in Chinese, there are many dramas, great dramas and all, but they are not considered literature because of their um, because they say that it is, they lack literary, what we understand, quote unquote, as a literary merit. Okay, yeah. Next, is there anything else? Yes, another interesting point which I would like to bring to your notice is that the Greeks, they thought of history as one of the seven arts, like, which is inspired by a goddess, the muse Clio. So history, how is history related to literature? Now, if when we think of this point, then we can, when we come back to Indian context, then we see that the epics in the Sanskrit literature, like epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, they are called itihasas. As I mean, you all must be knowing in Tamil literature, and if you look at the genre, I mean, how they have been categorized, what are the genres, right, in Sanskrit literature, or say in Malayalam or Tamil literature. So the epics which we considered as literature, as part of literature, they are called itihasa, which is, I mean, a rough translation of history. So this, I mean, there appears to be a similarity between the Greek thought as well as the Indian thought in the ancient period, where perhaps the history was written in the form of literature. And as it is given over here, maybe some of the oldest or ancient works, historical works might have been written in the form of literature. But today, although we know that histories are not written in the form of literature, right? Okay, yeah. Next, is there any other slide? That's the end of it. Yeah, yeah, right. Okay, so coming to now translation. Okay, so how translation is related to all this thing, right? Can anybody, I mean, yes, yes, please. What we understand by translation? what we understand by translation generally is there, like uh, general definition of translation is, I mean, when you look into any dictionary, they would say that a rendering of a text into another language, from one language to another language. Okay, that is the general understanding of translation, as we all know. But rendering of a text, right? Then what text? Whether it is a written text or a oral text, and do we, I mean, restrict ourselves to only written text, rendering of a written text, or from one language to another? That is the point. I mean, in translation, I mean, translation studies, we look at translation, I mean, going by uh, yeah, before going for that, uh, let us see even what we understand by translation is like. It's a, as we all know, that it is a process actually. We process of rendering. When we say rendering, what is that rendering? It is a process of rendering a text written in a particular language, written or say oral text in a particular language to another language. That is a general understanding. That could be, I'll come to that later. What is the broader understanding according to the yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. So, broader understanding according to the translation study scholars, that I'll come to in a few moments. But before that, let us also see that translation is also a subject which we, or a phenomena which we try to study in our classrooms or as a subject, like, um, or it's also a practice. We do it, we learn it. It's also a skill which we learn, we develop, and it is also a product actually. Product, it is a product in the sense that translated text, the text which has been translated is also referred to as a translation. Say a translation of Shakespearean plays. Okay, so this is a translation of say the okay, Maxim Gorky's Mother is translated into Tamil. Is it translated into Tamil? I don't know, right? The Mother, or whatever, or War and Peace, or whatever text, right? They are all translated. And when, yeah, like for example, I say Godan, right? Godan of Premchand. Okay. So is it, I mean, it would definitely be translated into our languages, but what happens is like I mean, they would change the name sometimes, the translator, depending on the context or depending on the target language, acceptability of the target people, the target culture. So, keeping in mind the target language, target people, target readers, the translators, they change perhaps. Sometimes they would like to retain the words, or sometimes they would change the title or whatever it is. So, that way, the translated text itself is considered as translation. So, translation is a process, it is a product, or it is also the subject which we study, right? And coming to what exactly is translation, right? So, according to Roman Jakobson, the Russian and American structuralist Roman Jakobson, I mean, he is considered as the person who has categorized translation in his paper called On Linguistic Aspects of Translation. He has categorized translation into three types. One is intralingual translation or rewording. He calls it as intralingual. See, just please try to understand this. Focus on the word I'm saying. It is intralingual. What we have seen so far is interlingual translation. That is translation from one language to another language, right? But here is a categorization, or here is a type which has been introduced by Roman Jakobson, where he says, like he's calling it as intralingual, that is within the language, translation within the language, and he is calling it as a rewording, right? So, what are the examples of this kind of translation? I mean, we understand translation as something which is of a text which has been rendered from one language to another, right? But now he is saying within the language. when we say within the language, what are the examples? So let us say the best examples of the intralingual translations would be like, for example, Shakespearean plays, right? When Shakespeare has written his plays, or perhaps when Shakespearean plays were performed. So the kind of language which Shakespeare has used, so that we all understand, it's a old English, right? So we all know that it's a very, very, very old thou, thee, this kind of language, and now we don't use that kind of a language. So perhaps nowadays, I mean, there are a number of translations. I would say that intralingual translations of Shakespearean plays, right, within English. I mean, or perhaps they are also called as rewritings of translations, or they are abridged versions of Shakespeare's plays, abridged versions or rewritings, or there are also prose forms, right? So they are not simply written in the form of plays which are performed. They are also, I mean, they are not kind of a dramas. So they are meant for reading only. So they are written in the form of stories, not which are not meant for performance. So this, I mean, when they are written in the form of stories, then this is a kind of a shift from genre. There is a shift in genre. That means from play to novel, right? So this is also there. I mean, there is a generic shift, but the language is same, right? So it is an example of intralingual translation, and also it is a language of translation across genre. So I have introduced a concept or a point that one type of translation is translation across genre, right? So I mean, that is based on the practice. And coming to, yes, yeah, and some other examples of intralingual translations would be like, okay, from, yeah, like would be commentaries, would be commentaries. Like, for example, there are many philosophical texts, or say say religious texts like Quran, the Holy Quran, which is like, maybe they don't translate the Holy Quran, they would simply interpret it, or there would be some commentaries written on it, so as to understand the basic tenets of those the text. So these kind of commentaries are also examples of intralingual translations. And dictionaries, another most important examples of intralingual translations are dictionaries, which you all know. Yeah, the when they are written in the same language, English to English dictionary, perhaps then it would be an example of intralingual translation, right? Then coming to interlingual translation, which the definition, I would say, the definition given by Roman Jakobson of intralingual translation is an interpretation. He says intralingual translation is an interpretation of the verbal signs of a text, verbal signs, that is the words, right? Interpretation. See, he is calling translation as an interpretation. There we understand the process of translation, how you translate. First step of translation is you interpret the text. Only after interpreting the text, then you put that word into another language or within the same language. So interpretation of a verbal, here also he's saying his verbal sign into of one language within the same line. Verbal sign of the same line. Like, for example, we all know, right? Say there is a pandemonium, or you say pandemic, right? So what do you mean by pandemic? When you look into a dictionary, then it will give you some meaning of pandemic, right? So here is a pandemic is a verbal sign. So that verbal sign is being changed into the meaning of it. So the meaning also is given in verbal signs. So when we are translating, I mean, when we are giving meanings like that, so that becomes, or say paraphrasing, right? So, or summarizing, when you're writing summaries, abridged versions, and all those things are all the examples of intralingual translations, and coming to interlingual translation. Right, interlingual, as you all know, this Roman Jacobson calls this as the translation proper, quote unquote translation. So according to this is the translation proper which we as an understand, and for which he is defining as the interpretation of verbal signs by means of some other language, verbal signs of other language. So that we all understand. Yeah, so from source text, we in translation studies we call the text from which we are translating, that we call as a source text, and the other text when we are translating it is called as target text. Okay, so the process of interlingual translation entails converting an original written text, which is called a source text, in the language, original verbal language, to the that is a source language, into a written text, that is a target text, and we convert it into target language. So we see the examples. There are a number of examples. Um like supposing as we have seen the Shakespearean dramas, supposing we are translating from English to the Indian languages, or say any other, say the epics and uh, whatever the texts, whether they are foreign or within India, you say Sanskrit to Indian languages, or say foreign languages. So those are the examples of interlingual translation, as we all understood. Now the most important category. It is the third category, intralingual, interlingual, and the third type of translation which he is talking about is intersemiotic translation, which he is calling as transmutation. This is the important thing over here is the interpretation of verbal signs by means of signs which are non-verbal signs. This we need to understand. So the words are interpreted by the verbal signs are interpreted through non-verbal signs. That is, now what are these non-verbal signs? Like for example, a text which is written or maybe which is oral, like when there is a shift in the medium, whenever there is a shift in the medium, we can say that is the reason why intersemiotic. Okay, so whenever there is a shift in the medium from oral to written, or from written to say performance, stage performance, or when it is adapted to whether it is adapted to stage or whether it is adapted to movies. So the movie adaptations, or what we call as film adaptations. So these are the examples of intersemiotic translation. So adaptations are intersemiotic translations, and apart from adaptations, I would say that all forms of art, all art forms, like for example, I think I have discussed this a bit earlier, like supposing the paintings, like for example, we all know about the famous Last Supper, the famous painting, the Last Supper. There, the painting is depicting the supper which Jesus Christ was having. I mean, the painting itself gives you an idea. Or you say, the biblical paintings, or the paintings which are related to, you say, Ajanta, Ellora, they all depict some Jataka stories. Or, okay, when you come to paintings, or coming to sculpture also, like if you look at the sculptures or the Jataka stories, they are not only paintings, not only the Jatakas, even the epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata, they are not only painted, they are also sculpted also, right? And you all know, right, the most famous temple of Angkor Wat, which is there in Cambodia. There you find the Ramayana being sculpted in stone. And not only that, even some incidents from mythology, or some Puranas and all, like the ascent of I'm telling you of this about Mahabalipuram. You all, are there in Tamil Nadu. So the Mahabalipuram has got all the rock cut, one big rock cut sculpture, which is called as Ascent of Ganga, where Ganga is, they have used one big rock, and there's a cut in the rock, and that cut in the rock is utilized to show that the Ganga is coming down from the heaven, and then, atop there, Bhagirath is doing penance, and all those kind of things are depicted. Even if you look at the Ellora temple, the Kailashanatha temple in Ellora, where you see the Kailasha, I mean, the Ravanasura is trying to lift the whole of Kailasha, and he's trying to that Kailashnath temple, uh, take it to, because he wanted to take the whole of Kailasha, the mountain Kailasha, to Sri Lanka, I mean Lanka. So the stories and all are depicted, either, I mean, shown, expressed, even through the painting, or through sculpture, in the form of sculpture, or even in the form of a dance. So you take any dance performance, whether it is classical or it is modern, there's some theme, some story is being told in that, whether it is classical or whether it is folk or whether it is modern form of art, with a dance form. Or even take, for example, the puppetry. Even puppetry is also, the puppet shows and all, they are also telling you some stories. Or um, like you say, the Harikatha and Burrakatha, we had that. Or your traditional Mohiniyattam or Kudiyattam, or for that matter, even Tayyam and all. Perhaps, definitely, everything, each and every art form is based on the literature, or it is telling you some story, right? So that way, I mean, this, I mean, these are all the forms of intersemiotic translations. So what happens is, like, I mean, they are also parts of literature. So what happens is, like, when you are working on language, when you are translating, you need to look at the cultural aspects as well. And in the present, with the development of technology, what has happened is, with the development of technology, you also have that, I mean, the form of translation also is changing. Now it's not only written, now it is, I mean, it might be written, but it is displayed in the form, or in the, it is like a form of dubbing or subtitling as well, or say voiceover. You all are aware of dubbing, subtitling, or voiceovers, and even advertisements. There also they would use different, I mean, different types of audiovisual translation. Now audiovisual translation itself is becoming a separate field. So adaptation studies are becoming separate field of translation. So the thing is, like, uh, there is a lot of scope for the researchers uh, in this area of translation. I mean, especially for those who are working in the areas of language and literature. One can look at the translation aspects, or the how language is being changed, or one can even look at you can take some text, literary text, or you can take some how, I mean, movies, or even TV series nowadays, for that matter. You can see they've been translated, in the sense, you see some, I mean, remakes also. The most important things is the remakes of movies, or you also have the concept of multilingual movies. Nowadays only you all must be knowing that, and especially in the movie, I mean, film industry, you see that there are many movies which are multilingual. I mean, this concept of multilingual movies has been, I mean, as far as my memory goes, it was introduced by Mani Ratnam, perhaps when he made Bombay. So he introduced Bombay, his movie Bombay, both is in Hindi as well as Tamil, I believe. Even he produced Roja, right? So that way, even Roja was also seen in Hindi and Tamil. So multilingual movies are also there nowadays. So, I mean, there's a lot of scope for the researchers, as well as those who want to make career in the field of translation also. So one can be, I mean, the most important thing which is required for being a translator is not, I mean, the knowledge of the two languages, source language as well as the uh, target language. But not only the language, but you should also be, I mean, well versed with the culture. the culture of the place. Like for example, like a very simple word like butterfly. Okay, what is the translation of butterfly in? Can anybody say that in Tamil? What is the word for butterfly? Can anybody type please here, or audio also they can say? They can unmute and say, or you can simply type. What's the word for butterfly in Tamil or any other language? I mean, in Hindi we say titli, but what is it called in? What is that? Pattambuchi. In which language?
Pattambuchi.
Pattambuchi. In
Pattambuchi.
which language?
In Tamil.
It's
In Tamil.
in Tamil. Okay, it's
Yes.
Tamil. Okay, what is it exactly? What does it mean exactly? Pattambuchi means what? The
Pattambuchi.
literal meaning I'm talking about. The literal meaning.
Okay. Um,
Okay, let me, yeah, just think of it. Literal meaning of, yeah, yeah, literal meaning of, uh, you might not know or think of it. Let me give you an example. In Telugu, I mean, I am not my mother tongue is Marathi, and Hindi has been my co-mother tongue. I have studied. Buchi means insect. Okay, fine. What is pattam? What is pattam? Yes. So English has been my medium of instruction, and Hindi has been my first language. Telugu has been my second language, and being born and brought up in Hyderabad. Uh, and my first posting was in Vijayawada, which is considered to be the center of Telugu literature or language, where the okay pattam means flying. Okay, fine. Pattam means flying. Okay, good. So for pattam, but see, if you relate to these two letters, the insect which flies. Okay, pattam which buchi would mean the insect which flies, but there are many insects which fly, right? There are many insects which fly. So what exactly is the word there, that we need to know? Otherwise, I mean, a translator needs to know. Otherwise, I mean, there would be many other, like a honeybee also flies. That is also an insect, right? Or there are other ants. There are certain ants which can fly. So that way, I mean, and different words are given. The literal meaning would be different. Like for example, in Telugu, they call it as Sita Koka Chilka. I don't know. I mean, the butterfly is. I mean, I am a learner of Telugu only, because I learned it. It's my second language, and being brought, I have developed my language. See, I'm giving you an example how to develop your language as I have developed my language. Okay, so when I said okay, what I mean, I was wondering. Sita, it is called as Sita Koka Chilka. Sita means Sita, as you all know, Rama and Sita. Chilka means parrot. Okay, so Sita is a parrot, and I mean Sita is a character, as you all know, and Chilka is a parrot. There is no relationship between a butterfly and Sita Koka Chilka, literally, right? So that way, a person should be very well versed between with the language, target language, of course, the source language as well as target language. Or, for example, let us say, for example, some rituals in a marriage, like we say the dowry, right? In Telugu, it is called katnam. In Hindi, we say dahej. Okay, so maybe varadakshina or something of that sort. I mean, the dowry. In English, it is called as dowry. Okay, so in English, it is called as dowry, but see how I'm trying to tell you about how it is related with the culture. in our, I mean, in Indian culture, or maybe in European culture, it is the bride's side which gives something to the groom's side. Okay, that is what we call it as dowry or katnam or dahej or whatever you call it. Okay, uh, but there is, I mean, in Urdu or in maybe in Islamic tradition, you have something called meher, right? Where the meher is something, maybe an amount or jewelry or whatever, the money or whatever, or a land or whatever form of wealth they are giving, and it is the bride. I mean, it is a groom which promises to give to the bride. Just as we had a concept called Kanya Shulkam in the early centuries, or maybe pre-modern or modern, pre-modern or times. And there is a very famous novel written by uh, a very popular social reformer called Veerashlingam Pantulu. He has written Kanya Shulkam. So there, I mean, the characters and all have become so very popular. They're very popular in Andhra Pradesh here, in the Telugu speaking people. So there, Kanya Shulkam means, in the earlier days, so Kanya Shulkam means it is the Shulkam, as you all know, is tax or the money, perhaps, which is given to the bride. I mean, the groom's, I mean, it is similar to the meher, perhaps. So the groom's side gives to the bride's side. They give some money to the bride's side. Or I would say, I mean, very crudely put, it's a kind of a, I mean, money being given to the bride's side to get her married. Okay, that was a system, because perhaps those days it was very difficult to get a good bride, and that is the reason why, even I think so, even in the Islamic countries, it's very difficult to find a bride. So that's the reason, and perhaps that is also related to the social realities uh, in in various parts of the world. Perhaps if you look at the Indian context, we all know that maybe in places like Rajasthan or somewhere in North India, although I mean, whenever a girl child is born, we say, oh, Lakshmi has come to our place. But as you all know, the social realities is people, they want I mean, a male boy to be born in their families, unless because the lineage, okay, because of the patriarchal society. Of course, in South India, in you say, as we all know, in Kerala, and perhaps I don't know where else, you have matriarchal societies. So because, I mean, because of various reasons, yeah, here, as I said, you had this kind of as you all know, the feticide, or you say kanya, bhrun hatya, what we call, right? That the girl child is killed within the womb, right? They are not even allowed to be born. So these kind of things, I mean, these are the social realities. Perhaps that could be the reason why, I mean, they are giving meher, or the money is being given, because I mean, if you look at the sex ratio in some parts of the country or the world, perhaps it's not equal. So I mean, it's related like that. So one tradition, if you look at one tradition, I mean, I mean, what that tradition will have one word, and one word, if it has to be translated, we have to go to the depths of the that word, how that word has come. I mean, if one gets involved so much, then only perhaps, or at least gets the, because we need to sometimes, as a translator, we need to give explanation, or in the glossary or somewhere you would give, either in the glossary, or you give it as a footnote or an end note, right? Or the latest fashion is, I mean, fashion in the sense that latest trend in the translation practice is that, okay, everything is available on net. Google Baba is there to tell you the meaning of everything, so you don't have to give everything a serve like in the plate. So they will come to know, if the reader is interested in knowing the meaning of something, they would look into the internet and find out whatever is the meaning. So that is because I mean, perhaps the translators also um, want to reduce their burden. So that way, I mean, one has to be very well versed with the languages as well as the cultures of the both the languages. That is, I mean, knowing the language is not enough. We need to build the equivalence between the words. And not only, yeah, when we are talking about the equivalence, then exact equivalents are not at all possible, not possible. Exact equivalence of anything is not possible. Even when you say the simplest of the synonyms would not give you the exact meaning. Supposing when you say good or nice or something like that, or say something beautiful, so each and every word has got its own, yeah, the connotative meaning. Apart from the denotative meaning, we need to take care of the connotative meaning as well. So that when we are looking at those aspects, so I mean, as a translator, we need to take care of all these things. And coming to the research, the scope of research, as I said, you can look into the history of Aya. Now, when I'm talking about the scope of research into this field, is like you can look into the various translations which have happened from your language or into your language, from English or from any other language into your language, or from your language into any other particular language, which you're I mean, aware of, or which you know. That is one aspect of. I mean, you can build a literary tradition, or you can work on the translation history in that particular, between those particular languages, or you can simply look into the works of a particular author. Like say you say any author, you can take modern or ancient authors whose works have been translated into other languages, right? That kind of a work also. You take text of one author, say Girish Karnada, or say Bhartiyar's works, in which all languages it has been translated, in how many languages it has been translated, right? So that way you can look into, or you can say, you can even go to take movies. And I mean, I have suggested this topic to one of my own students. He is a Tamilian, and he is going to look into the remakes of the films, from Tamil to one very, very interesting incident, which I would say, I would like to mention of one very interesting incident of film translation is, I don't know how many of you know about this movie called Mughal Azam, or you all must be knowing of Salim and Anarkali, right? Anarkali and Salim. Okay, so though I mean that Anarkali, the movie was they have made movie based on Anarkali. It is called Anarkali. It's not called Salim. I have not seen any movie called Salim, but basically I have seen movies. I mean, they made in Hindi, and it is also. I mean, there was a very. It's a classic movie. Mughal Azam was a classic movie made in 60s. But I mean, wondering. Rather, I was shocked to see that it was based on a Tamil movie called Anarkali, right? And see the cultural exchange which is going on, right? So Anarkali, I would say maybe it would be a mixture of imagination and history, and which is made, and the history which happened in medieval India, which is in northern India. And see, the Tamil people have taken an interest in that, and they have made a movie. And after that, that becomes a source of a movie to be made in Hindi, and it gets, I mean, disseminated in all the languages, and it goes on to become a classic movie, right? One of the most, I mean, the best known movies in Hindi. So that way, there is a lot of give and take between Hindi movies and Tamil movies. not only Hindi and Tamil, but many other. I mean, not only these two language, but there are any pair. You take any pair of languages, whichever you know. You can do translation. I mean, research on movies, or you can research on advertisements or teleseries. I mean, these are the latest things which I'm talking about. Okay, or you can even go for some older, I mean, the older text like Shakuntalam or Bhagavad Gita, whatever is your interest. I would say that you look into your interest, whatever you are interested in. So take that into account, and if you have translations or whatever, I mean, why I'm telling you is because I think the literature departments are done with, right? I mean, because since literature is a quite an old discipline, it needs to divide. It needs to go further now, right? I mean, you need to look into the language of yeah, not only films and other things, but also you can also look at the. I think many some of you or many of you must have also worked on the journalistic language, or the articles which have come in journal like that, or maybe in some magazines. So that kind of work also, or say you can even take up some comics, right? Or children's literature. So you can look at, I mean, take up any topics like that and work on it. Journalism, as I said, news, how new words are being introduced into the day-to-day language. You all must be knowing nowadays, like, okay, okay, apart from the mask and the pandemic and all those things, many words have come into our languages. How words, I mean, the languages themselves get changed depending on the circumstances. So I mean, if you look at from the translation point of view, I mean, what happens is, as of today, the the very definition of translation is any change in content and form. Any change in content or form is considered as translation. So that change could be within the language, or within literature, or anything, or it could be the medium, or it could be genre. So that way, I think there's a lot of scope for the researchers to look into these kind of the newer aspects, right? And they can take this up as their careers. And apart from that, another important thing which I would like to say is, see, translation is not restricted only to literary translation. Actually, before literary translation, we have had translations of the works of the scientific nature. You know, scientific works have been translated, and that is how, I mean, you all must be knowing, and that we as Indians, then we claim, and we also, I mean, it is also a known fact that zero was discovered in India itself. So, and zero is a mathematical concept. So mathematical works, scientific works based on astronomy, astronomical works, they were all, I mean, mostly, I mean, they were written in India. So in ancient period, long, I mean, Mihira and Aryabhatta, and if you go for medical field, Charaka, Sushruta, we know that they were all, I mean, we know that even surgery was conducted in those days. Whether, I mean, you take Ayurveda or whatever kind of things, so they were translated into Arabic in the medieval period. And there was a time when in Baghdad was the center of translation. So the caliphs of Baghdad took a lot of interest in translating this scientific text. I'm sorry for that. Scientific text, and they, yeah, yes, Akshaya. Yeah, Akshaya. Yeah, yeah. Yes, please. Yeah. Yeah. ఎవరమ్మా? ఓకే. అది దానికా? 1 సెకండ్. దానికొచ్చారా? సారీ. I'm sorry for that. There was an urgent call. Okay, so yes, I was talking about uh, the scope of, the research which can be taken up, right? So that way, one can work on various aspects of language and yeah, rather like it is said that the language itself goes on changing, and that way, human beings also. There scholars like Salman Rushdie, he has talked about the translated beings, human beings, we ourselves get translated. He's talking of the human beings getting translated in the sense of like we adapting other cultures, like say Western culture. Wearing not only, adapting the clothes and all, but also adapting the food habits. And we started, eating all Chinese food. You all know, right? We all like Manchuria and all noodles. Okay. And all those kind of things we have adopted. Not only did we adapt, and we say we have the desi kind of things. Okay. So we have adopted food habits, and we also, adopted their festivals and all. There have been, of course, there have been controversies surrounding those kind of things. Like you all know Valentine's Day and all. It is very popular nowadays in India, but not. I'm not aware of what the scenario is there in other parts of the world. But the fact remains that. Okay. So that way, human beings, as human beings, we also get changed. So in that sense, like Salman Rushdie and most of the post-colonial authors, like Homi Bhabha, they talk about the hybridity and all, as you all must be knowing. So in the sense of the changes which have been brought in the society, or even we think that, at the level of thinking, what we understand, what we think as modern is like, okay, cutting your hair and having like that, that itself is modernity. But what exactly is modernity? One needs to think of to go beyond the compartments of what is traditional or reasonable. The whether what you consider as modernity depends on from person to person. So that is what I would like to, with this I would like to end my uh, presentation over here. And if there are any questions, we can, yeah,
Ma'am, ma'am, it
yeah.
was really an insightful presentation. The way you explained the importance of translation in literature and language were way too informative and amazing. Participants have clearly benefited from your session, and it is evident through the wonderful feedback which they have posted in the chat box. We wish you wholeheartedly, ma'am, to win more and more laurels in the years to come. Thank you, ma'am. And it's now time for question and answer session. With your permission, shall we go to the question and answer session, ma'am?
Yes, 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 please, yes, please.
So there is one question in the chat box. Can we help other researchers by suggesting research topics in the field of translation studies?
Yes, definitely. Why not? Why not? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yeah,
Okay,
there's a
okay.
lot of, see, the translation studies itself is, it's a, we are, it is understood as an interdisciplinary area of research. Right. Basically, as you all must be knowing that translation are studied not only in the literary department, but they are also studied in the comparative literature department. Also, they are studied under culture studies department. Okay, whether the department is culture studies or comparative literature or a literature studies, literature department, even literature department also, through literature departments also, you can conduct studies which are based on translations. They could be related to any aspect of translation. They could be related even to editing part or translation reviews. How the translation is done. So translation criticism also we have, just as you have literary criticism, we also have translation criticism. So there could be researches which are done based on literary criticism, translation criticism as well. Okay, so definitely there is a scope for working on translations,
Okay.
right?
So next question is, while translating a literary text, can you suggest the translator's liberty to deviate from the original for effective thematic purpose?
Yes, yes, definitely. Now, this is a very, very important point, but the factors we have to keep in mind. So, who is translating? Depending on who is translating and for whom are you translating, basically, who is translating? This is called as a translation agency. Like, supposing if you are the one who have, who in the sense the translator, he or she is free to translate any text. You can, well, provided if it is an older translate or an ancient translate, you simply take any text and you start translating, you get it published. You can talk to any publisher. The most important point is you have to talk to the publisher, and the publisher too should be interested in publishing, or you can publish on your own. Nowadays you have YouTube and other medias, the internet and all those, you have your own channels, you can publish it. But the most important point is, if it is not older than the text which you choose, if it is older than 50 years. Here the most important point, if the translator is translating out of his or her own interest. This is regarding that, right? If it is, if it comes under the purview of intellectual property rights, right? So, and intellectual property rights are applicable to the texts which are there, not older than 50 years, right? So, if you are selecting a text, a modern text, say, which is very contemporary text, written very recently, right? Then what you do, mostly the general experience is the most the popular texts which have been awarded by by prestigious texts, right? Most popular prestigious texts, very well known texts only are taken up. And but for that you need to, if the you need to take the permission from the people whoever are, whether they could be the author, or if the author is alive, you need to take the permission from the author, or if the author is not alive, you take permission from whoever has got the copyright. Okay, and that is regarding the texts which are modern ones, or which are not older than 50 years. But if they are older than 50 years, then you are free to translate. But the next point is, depending on if it is a commissioned translation, like supposing some book house is asking you to translate, asking a translator to translate, then perhaps they will have their own guidelines how to translate, or what are their, who are their target readers. So they might have certain guidelines. So based on their guideline, keeping in view their guidelines, you have to translate. But there would definitely be a liberty. The translators have a liberty, and that is called as, generally called as, the aesthetic liberty. Okay, the translators are said to have the aesthetic liberty to, they can change certain things depending on the need. But the general understanding is you have to stick to the, the norms. What I say is, like in the modern society, the norm is like you stick to the message. The message has to be passed on to the target language, the readers. Okay, that is what we understand by the term translation proper. But supposing in our, but that has not been there in our traditional Indian society. Like for example, if you look at the translation, I would give you Kamba Ramayana. If you compare Kamba Ramayana with the Ramayana which was there, Valmiki Ramayana, right? Kamba considered as translator, or is he considered as a poet? You tell me that.
He's considered as a poet because he's written
Poet,
the.
yes. And Kamba Ramayana is not considered as a translation
He's
in general parlance, I'm saying. right? Although from the translation studies point of view, we might consider that, since, I mean, if quote unquote, I'm not very sure, okay, we generally consider Valmiki as the Adi Kavi, and okay, going by that, we say that okay, Valmiki Ramayana is the source text, and perhaps Kamba has written. I'm not very sure. Those who have worked on this area, they must be knowing, right? Whether Kamba has based his Ramayana on Valmiki Ramayana, or whether there are very other deviations, right? And one very well-known deviation is that in Valmiki Ramayana, Rama is considered to be in the human, not only in the human form, he is there as human only. But it is the Kamba. So this is very, very important for all of us to know, that it is Kamba who has deified Rama. Very interesting point to know. See, although Rama today is, even Ayodhya, you say, they are building temple in Ayodhya there, and Rama is very well known there, right, in North India. But the most important and very interesting point here is, it is a Kamba who has deified Rama in the form of a god. So, and that is the reason why it is also that, and you all must be knowing of Alvars and Ainars. The very Bhakti movement is said to have been come from south. Okay, and it has traveled north, and it has traveled all over India. Okay, in all the traditions, in all the Indian languages, you find this Bhakti movement is there, right? So my point is, the liberty which you take. So what you can say, it is an adaptation. Maybe the story is very well known, you simply write it, rewrite it. And that is the reason why the Indian concept of translation is not the Western. It is differing from the Western concept of translation, in the sense that our translation is more like a retelling. Like, we tell the story again and again, say in our own words, if it is a popular story, right? So, depending on the concept, or depending on the text which you are choosing, you have the liberty. The translator has got the liberty, right? That is my, okay. Yes.
Thank you, Nanda. The next
Yeah.
question is
And another point which I would like to emphasize is, here is, the point is, like, the more you go away from the source text, right? It is a fact. The more you go away from, that means what is happening, the more you are deviating, the more liberty which you are taking. That means you are not sticking to what is given over there in the source text. That means, there is this concept of infidelity also, that is there in Western concept, but that concept we don't have in India. The more creative you are, and the more interesting the work becomes, and the more, you claim to be the author, you become the author of that particular text. As we see the case of Kamba, or any other Ramayana which is there, and or say the Tulsidas Ramcharitmanas, or anything. Or if you go to Bengal, you find this Kritivasa Rama, right? Ramayana, Adhyatma Ramayana, and all those things. They are known by the authors, and they are not considered as the translations. The translator becomes equal to the author there. So the status of the translator is not, in our Indian context, it is not at all secondary, as it is considered in the Western context, but it is equal to the author, or perhaps rather more than the author is. Okay. Yes, please. Yeah.
next question is, what are the main factors which can help to become a good translator? The practice or the education? The practice or the education, which can help to become a good translator?
See, I think you need both. You need both, right? Education is right. Okay, education will let you know about the theory and all, right? But without practice, you can't do. You have to practice. Theory will let you know how to translate, and what to translate, what are the various aspects of translation, and how to study the translation. Only when you look at the earlier translations, you can do it, and then you have to practice. Practice, you all know, makes a man perfect, right? And moreover, more than the, translation is known as a practice only, right? And based on the practice only, theories will be built. Okay, right. So you need to do both. Yes, please.
Okay.
Next.
So next question is, why do some people find translating literature or literary translation difficult or impossible? Why some people find it difficult or
Yes,
impossible?
yes, yes, yes. It is difficult, and the most difficult they would say is the poetry, right? But still, poetry has been translated. They have been translating poetry from ages, I would say that, right? And like for example, as I've given Ramayana, and Ramayana itself is in the form of a poetry poem. It's not story. I mean, it is a story, but it is told in the form. I mean, it is epic means it is in the form of poem only. How Kamba has translated, or how many other people they have been translated. They will simply say untranslatability is one word, one concept. But if you want to translate, you can definitely translate. And translators have been practicing and they will do it. And the only thing is how to translate. What are the procedures of translation? What are the strategies of translation? What are the method of translation? That you will come to know through education. And because that education which we have gone, or whatever I mean education, or whatever literature is available, whatever material is available, all that is available based on practice. So based on the practice, the scholars, various scholars have studied, and they have devised various strategies or process of or translation. So in education you will know about all these things, right? Like for example, there is neologism. First of all, I will let me come to know, like first of all you look at, I mean, this takes us to the process of translation. So when you, as I have already said, you look at the interpretation, and then after that you look at the words, and I mean source text and data text, and then you look at the, try to find the equivalents, right? If you find the equivalence, it's very good, very well and good. Why people find it difficult to translate is they don't find equivalent, they can't find. Yeah, and it is very obvious that you can't find equivalence, right? Because the cultures are different. Naturally, when the cultures are different, languages also will be different. So naturally it is difficult to express. So the most important, I mean, the task of the translator is to try to find out closest possible meaning. At least you can paraphrase it, you can transpose it. Like for example, I'll give you like idioms. Like supposing there are, I mean, any rich, any very good literature will be full of idioms, right? So when you say, like for example, I would say, if it is said in English, it's raining like cats and dogs. So when you translate it into in any other language, you don't say it is, either you say if it has got an equivalent idiom. Like for example, in Hindi we have musladhar barsha, or in Telugu you have kondapotu varsham, kundapotu varsham. And I'm sure even in Telugu, Tamil, you might be having this kind of word, right? If you have an equivalent idiom, you translate it in that way. Or if you don't have an equivalent idiom, you simply say heavy. What do we mean by saying that it is raining cats and dogs? We mean to say it is raining heavily. So you go to the sense. You go to the sense, not simply sticking to the word, but you look at the exact word. So that is that what that brings us to the type of or the strategy of translation, where it is called as word for word translation or sense for sense translation, which has been talked about, I mean, ages before, centuries ago. I mean, in the early centuries of Christian era, Cicero and Horace, they have talked about these two types of translation, where word for word and sense for sense. And always it is advisable to go for sense for sense. You look at the sense, what is the meaning, and then you translate accordingly. That is the strategy. And if you try to do that, I mean, if you give the closest possible equivalent, it's fine. Otherwise, Jai Hind. Okay, like parijata, I will say parijata, some word like some traditional word like that. Okay, okay, then you can equate. You may not get an exact equivalent of parijata. You look at some other flower, right? Or try to devise this kind. So, what are the how to translate? What are the various strategies or various procedures? So, they are being taught in the education part, taken care of the education part, and that you need to practice. Okay? Yes.
So
Yes,
next
please.
question here is, what are the main characteristics of translation dealing with newspaper, diplomatic, and other official materials?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The main characteristic features I would say is If it is diplomatic, okay, if it is diplomatic, or say, let me come to what kind of language is used. Okay, this actually, yeah, I couldn't cover this. I'm thankful for this question. I couldn't cover that. I was actually talking about literary and non-literary works. Okay, there also the literary translation and non-literary translation, or we say technical translation. So technical text. Okay, so pay newspaper, or say official materials or diplomatic materials, they have their own subject now. Okay, or say legal translation. I mean, so the works which are dealing with law. Okay, so they have their set of language. So we need to, I mean, a translator needs to be well versed with that kind of a language. So in that language, like for example, I would say official language, or say given official language, official, the character most characteristic feature of official language is it is written in third person. Let's say, okay, so and so is being informed, or so and so is admitted to so and so course, right, or so and so is appointed as so and so, like that. So it is mostly in passive voice, third person, right? They don't say you are appointed or you are admitted. Sometimes they might say, but most of the time so and so is appointed. You look at the certificate. This is to certify that so and so has been, like that, has participated. So the most characteristic feature of that particular language is, we say, and even in newspaper also it is mostly in passive voice. So you look at what kind of language they are using, mostly in passive voice, and they have their own technical words, technical terminology they have. So equivalents, and these kind of technical terminologies are built. I mean, built in the sense they are being produced or published by the government sources. So we have to restrict. So we can't, I mean, we as a translator can't use any word which we like, whichever we like. So there we don't have that kind of a aesthetic liberty, as I was talking about earlier. If aesthetic liberty is there in translating any literary text, but that kind of a text liberty is not, you can't take that kind of a liberty in this kind of translations, whether it is a newspaper or diplomatic or official translation, because there communication is the most important point, and communication to the point, whatever exact communication, we need to be very very specific, and we need to stick to what is being said in the source text. Because otherwise what happens is, it will lead to miscommunications, and it will also, I mean, create lots of problems, right? For example, I would give you, I mean, I'm giving you some examples, very which are, I mean, kind of a, like, say in I don't know what is the word for say somebody is speaking very um, eloquently without stopping, fluently, very fluently. What's the word for that in Tamil? Huh? Very fluently, without, somebody is talking, a speaker is speaking without a very any a single stop. It is called, let me say, in Telugu it is called, or say dhara pravahik, dhara pravaha, like that, like it's coming like a flow, there is no stop in between, like, okay. So in Telugu, I mean, it is called as anargal. Anargal means they, without any hurdle, without any stops, without, I mean, okay, sometimes some people will keep on thinking what to say, what to speak. I mean, this is observed sometimes, not many a times, in some forums, right? So when I mean, either when the, due to various reasons, right? So some people, but when you say this word anargal, this has got in Hindi, anargal means rubbish. Anargal means rubbish. Whereas in Telugu, anargal means very good, very fluent, excellent, fluently, without any stop. So when this kind of a thing is happening, then you think, Arey, if somebody is saying, if somebody is speaking in a very fluent way, and if we use the word in Telugu and or in Hindi, and we say that, oh, kya anargal bhasha hai, so they will say, Arey, what rubbish is he speaking? So this kind of a miscommunication happens. And this happens mostly, I mean, we have to be very very careful about this. We have to stick to the words which are available, and to the words which are available in the dictionaries. So we depend, as the translator has to depend on the technical dictionaries which are available, published by the government of wherever we are working, or of that particular language. Okay, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is last question. What specific problem emerge in translating film scripts and commercial advertisements?
Okay. A specific translation related to films and commercial
Commercial
advertisements. Yes.
advertisements.
Okay. So when it comes to films and commercial advertisement, the specific problem which comes is whether you are going for dubbing or subtitling. Okay, these are the two forms of translation, right? Or whether it is, yeah, or when you are making remake of it. These are the three forms of translation. Okay, so what is happening in dubbing? The problem is of lip sync, like whether the lips are, you all must be knowing, right? The you have to sync with that lips. So the word which we choose should be similar to the word. This phonetically it should be similar to the words which are original, who which are there in the original text. Okay, so when you are able to do that, then that lip sync will be easy. But nowadays, what is happening is the technology has advanced so much that if the translator has to find this kind of similar kind of words. But if the translator is not able to find out, the last resort is perhaps they will make some changes in the technology. In the source text itself, the lips they would do. You all know of that Photoshop things, right? So they would simply change according to the target text, perhaps, right? People are devising newer ways of doing that. But as a translator, we need to do, and that is regarding the lip sync. And if it comes to subtitling, the subtitling is, yeah, and dubbing. What happens is the language, the number of words which you are using in one particular language will be different from the number of words which you use in the other language. So that we have to take care of that as well, apart from the lip sync. And that same thing applies to the subtitle also. And in subtitling, the most important restrictions are the time and space. Time and space, like the time. Say there is a difference between, because the subtitles are read. We have to read the subtitle. They are displayed on the screen. So the time which is available for the readers to read the subtitle, that is very very important. And whatever is being said by the persons or the character which is who is seen on the screen, that has to be written in the form of a subtitle. So what happens is, there is a difference between, we all know that there is a difference between the speed of speech and the speed of writing or reading, right? Definitely, as we all know, that the speed of speech is much more higher than the speed of reading. So what happens, the translator, when he is making preparing subtitles, he has to make it very brief. So you just give a gist of it and cut short. It's a kind of pressy writing, I would say. So practicing pressy writing is the best. You cut short to the one third, right? Whatever is being said as a dialogue, that has to be cut short maybe to half or one third, so that it gets accommodated as a subtitle. Okay, so very briefly, the sense goes to the reader can just read and then they will understand what's going on in the movie or advertisement, right? And the best thing they say is to remake. But what happens is, to remake, then again you need to get all the characters, the actors and all that, right? So then you can adapt in whatever way you like, that way. But again, that you have to adopt to the target text, target readers, target audience and target culture. uh, I don't know, maybe perhaps if I can get can I share on this one?
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
I would like to,
Yes, you can share.
because this is very interesting. Yeah. I just give me a minute, so that I would like to. Uh, One second.
Excuse me, ma'am.
I would like
Uh,
your, yeah,
Ma'am, are you going to share any video?
yeah. That's what
Ma'am,
video
sorry for the thing. If you share the video, there will be
disturbance.
there will be problem, ma'am. There will
Okay,
be a
okay.
copyrights problem.
Because okay, fine, no problem. I mean, online video. I thought we could. Okay, or
Yes,
otherwise you can have a look at that.
since it's an
I'm just
online
giving you an
video, there will
example.
be copyrights.
Okay, you can have a look at this. But the best example would be I like for Tanishka jewelry. I'm just okay. I won't share it. It's all right. I'm just giving an example of the Tanishka. You can go and you can look at the Tanishka ad. Okay, bridal ad where which is it is there in different languages, and how they have remade it. It's a very beautiful. I mean, way they have in the Telugu marriage or Tamil marriage, or they go to Bengali marriage, and everywhere the marriage. The jewelers are all different. The father, mother, the speaking and all that. The concept is same, but the jewelry keeps changing. The people keep changing. The concept keeps changing. So there they are adapting to various social contexts, right? Cultural contexts. So that way, I mean, one needs to the change accordingly. That is as far as the advertisement goes. So you need to commercial advertisements need to adapt to the cultural and social context, right? That is it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering all the questions patiently and efficiently, which is posted in the chat box, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's now time to express our earnest gratitude to everyone who supported, guided, and extended their fullest cooperation towards the successful conduct of today's webinar. We have Ms. R. Akshaya, Assistant Professor, Department of English, to propose the vote of thanks. To you now, Ms. Akshaya.
Thank you, Deepa, ma'am. Happy evening, everyone. On behalf of organizing team, it's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. My heart fills with lots of gratitude and respect to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Kokila, Senior Assistant Professor, Department of Translation Studies, the English and Foreign Languages, University Hyderabad, for enlightening her knowledge to all the participants. Ma'am, we are extremely thankful to you, ma'am, for delivering a groundbreaking session on the topic language, literature, and translation. I would like to thank Dr. A.C. Shanmugam, our founder chancellor, Engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar, our honorable president, for our greater support and guidance towards the department. A sincere thanks to Dr. G. Gopalakrishnan, Provost, Dr. S. Geeta Lakshmi, Vice Chancellor, for their encouragement. I would like to thank Dr. C. B. Painivelu, Registrar, Dr. Malini Pandey, Joint Registrar HNS, for their constant support. I wish to place my sincere thanks to Dr. D. L. Ramesh, a Joint Registrar Events, and Dr. Jabaraj, Additional Registrar ENS, for their motivation. I would extend my thanks to Dr. Pushkala, Senior Dean, Department of English, Dr. Mary Thomas, Dean, English, Dr. M. Chandrasena Rajeshwaran, HOD, Department of English, Mrs. A. Julie Elizabeth, Deputy Head, Academics, Dr. B. Karpavadigar, Deputy Head, Admin, for being a pillar of a department and their constant support towards this event. I wish to thank to Dr. P. Hashni, Professor, Bhuvaneshwari Ma'am, Deepa, and Gayatri for assistant professors of Department of English for the immense effort to make this event a grand success. Before I conclude, let me express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the faculty members of the department and my dear students who have risen this occasion with their presence. Last but not least, I thank all participants for making this event a resounding success. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Akshaya. Dear participants, For your kind information, the feedback from assessment form is now active in the YouTube chat box. You are requested to complete and submit the form before 6 p.m. today to instantly receive your certificates in your registered emails. Later, the form will be deactivated, and it's our university policy to share not to share the presentation slides to the participants. But we would like to delightfully inform you that this video will ever available in our YouTube channel. Participants can view at any moment from from the comforts and from the comforts of the place, and they you can get benefited from the video, and also share it with your friends and colleagues. We have now come to end of the session, and we are totally confident that we all would have gained enough knowledge on the topic, and with the satisfaction of presenting a good and resourceful webinar of national relevance. We wish to sign off and hope to meet you all in the next program. Keep supporting as always, dear participants, and don't forget to submit your feedback form, and also subscribe our YouTube channel, Department of English, Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute, for further updates about the program and videos. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.